What is going on, my friends? Are you guys ready for story time? I have a story for you that I'm pretty excited to share with you guys today. And it's a story about Freddie. Now, Freddie is a parrot in the jungle. Now, he has a lot of parrot friends. In fact, the parrots right now, they live in the greatest tree in all of the jungle. But you know what? There are other birds in the jungle, like the toucans and the hornbills, who also want that tree. So the toucans and the hornbills decide to team up together to take over the tree. Well, the parrots don't know this is happening, right? The other birds are kind of talking and trying to make a plan, but there's also the great eagle in the jungle. And one day, this eagle flies over, and there's this big shadow because of its body and its wingspan. Whoosh! And the eagle goes to see Freddie. And he says, "Hey, Freddie, I need you to get all the other parrots together, and I need you to protect this tree. If the parrots want to protect and keep this tree, you have to work together." And Freddie's like, "Whoa, what are you talking about? I can't do that. I'm like one of the smallest parrots there is." And the eagle's like, "No, you have been chosen. I believe in you." And the parrot was like, Freddie was like, "Okay, listen, I'm gonna pluck this feather. And if this feather, I'm gonna put it on the ground. If this feather is dry in the morning, but all the ground is wet, then I'll believe you." So the next morning comes, Freddie comes out, walking around, all the ground is wet, but the feather is dry. Whoosh! The eagle returns. And Freddie's like, I still don't believe. And he says, okay, now if the feather is wet, but the ground is dry, then I'll believe. So the eagle leaves. Next morning comes, Freddie comes out, and sure enough, now the opposite has happened. Now the ground is dry, but the feather is wet and kind of looks like, like how a feather looks when it gets wet. And so the eagle returns and says, "Okay, Freddie, it's time." And so Freddie says, "Okay." So he goes up to all his parrot friends, everybody in the tree, and he says, "Listen, the toucans and the hornbills are coming together and they want this tree. Who will stand and fight with me? Who will protect the tree with me?" And at first, thousands of parrots came. Like, they were so ready. But then the eagle came back and said, "Hey, Freddie, what a great turnout. This is awesome, but this is way too many birds. You need less birds. If it's not less birds, then they won't know about their talent and their gifts. They won't know that somebody else helped them." And Freddie was like, "Wait, what? Okay." So he came back to all his parrot friends and said, "Guys, listen, some of you are parents, some of you have kids. If some of you are afraid and you don't want to go to bird battle, then you guys can stay in the tree. And if they get past us, then you protect the tree." And so thousands left. Thousands came and thousands left. And then the eagle came back and said, "Freddie, you still got too many parrots, man." He goes, "Something incredible is going to happen, but not with this many parrots." And so Freddie's like, "Oh my goodness." So then it came down with all the birds flying down to the river to get something to drink. And the way the birds drank depended on who stayed and who went. And eventually, Freddie ended up with only 300 parrots to help him protect the tree in the jungle from the hornbills and the toucans. Well, the night before the battle, Freddie was pacing around on this branch, and he was still kind of having some little doubts. And so he decided to fly down to where the toucans and the hornbills were at. And he flew down and he perched up on a branch, and he was just looking and watching. And then he sees a toucan and a hornbill talking. And they're talking about a dream one of them just had about the parrots attacking and the parrots winning. And Freddie took that as a great sign. He's like, "Okay, I'm in this." So he goes back to his army of parrots and he is ready. He is fresh. And then the eagle returns, and the eagle says, listen, here's the plan. Okay, I want you to fly higher than the hornbills and the toucans and get some of your parrots up top. And when you give this signal, I want you to have those birds pull back the leaves and the branches so that the moonlight shines in and everything is lit up. And then I want you guys to caw like you've never cawed before and be the loudest caws you can be. And Freddie's like, that sounds weird, but I trust you. Everything with the feather and then the dream I just heard, you got it, eagle. I trust you. And so then the night came. Freddie's telling all of his parrot friends the plan. So his strongest flyers fly to the top of the tree and they wait for this signal. And everybody else hides behind leaves and branches and all these other trees surrounding the toucans and the hornbills. And then Freddie gives a signal and they reach back the leaves and the moon shines in and lights up the whole campground or the whole tree where they are staying. And then Freddie and all of his friends just begin caw, 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 caw. They just start cawing everywhere. The toucans and the hornbills, they wake up and they're like, what's happening? They're freaking out and they just start flapping their wings and they're freaking out and they're like, no, this is we're out of here. And the toucans, they leave, and the hornbills, they leave, and Freddie and his friends won. They didn't really have to do anything. They just had to be really loud, and they were able to protect their tree. Now, this is a really fun story, but it's actually a true story from the Bible and one of my favorite books, the book of Judges, chapter 6 and 7, about one of my favorite judges, Gideon, and how Gideon didn't think he was strong enough or smart enough or big enough to lead an army for God, but God gave him what he needed. And when God asks you to do something, when he calls you to do something, he's going to give you what you need. Well, I hope you enjoyed this story of Freddie the Parrot, which is based off of Gideon in Judges 6 and 7. Have a great week.